originally came up with the idea of trying to tell my story. I had my 75th birthday last week, and thank you. And there have been a few milestones in my life that have meant something, but it's mostly about the people, not the places. The way people are connected to place, that's important, because these places were Miami, San Francisco, and then New York City. Miami, I was in the Miami Philharmonic playing the pool, won an audition. San Francisco, I moved to because the Miami Philharmonic folded, and I was going to go back to school. And then I met some musicians on tour, invited me, they were here. I toured with them for 2 years, and then came to New York City. And I was 28, and someone had said to me, you make the decisions about the rest of your life in your late 20s. And I did, I came to New York. The first piece I'm going to play is one that I performed with my partner, Ken. Now, you're looking at the work of Ken Croquin, and there are art books back there that we're giving away if you'd like to have them. Ken was a huge enthusiast of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was a naturalist, theologian, and all-around beautiful thinker. So Ken's book quotes Emerson a lot because of his take on nature, which was for him the divine. Ken used, these are his words, used paint as with catalysts to cause it to move. He thought of paint as an object. So Emerson's book is called The Conduct of Life, and Ken's book is called The Conduct of Paint. And what you're seeing is paint in motion. And in some cases, older pieces before he made a transition. Ken painted these two pieces in his early 20s. They're called Mundane Mondays for the Madonna. They have their own kind of mysterious look at things, but one thing I noticed in this and asked Ken about was this hand that's here and the shadow behind it. And Ken loved flying carpets. So there are flying carpets in several of his pieces. This is called Splashdown. We had a garden right around the corner on 2nd Street between Avenues B and C, hence the name of this space. And Ken started painting in this vacant lot. I built a fence there. A lady owned it. She loved that he was there. We were there for about 12 years. This was made there. He found this and then poured paint of different qualities, even clumps of dry paint. But he very often set glass globes in the middle of the active paint. And his paints were active, they moved, and he would video record it, project it. We'll show some of these during this series at some point. But this is what Ken would call arrested development in that a glass globe there, Splashdown. This piece behind me has probably the most relevance today because it's called St. Patrick's Weekend Snow Painting. And it was made on St. Patrick's weekend, I think 2011. Ken went up to our rooftop, put a big piece of canvas down over a couple of tables, spilled some paint, and then we heard the forecast and it was going to snow 10 inches that night. So he went back up and put more paint on it. The next morning, before the sun came up, he went up to the rooftop and started videotaping the sun coming up and melting the snow from this painting as it revealed itself. So it hangs in my living room. I never get tired of looking at it, and I think it's for me, quite extraordinary. And it's a revelation of nature rather than being about it. It is nature itself. These other two pieces sat in the garden. Ken again found them. I looked for titles on them. There aren't any. I'll probably name them at some point. I think the idea for Ken is when they age, they get more and more beautiful. They show the kind of vulnerability, if you will, that paint reacts to. This one especially has fallen apart over the years, but it's still quite extraordinary in that it has, and it's in the back garden. So I'm going to play Multiple Oneness, and a kind of homage to my time with Ken, which is 23 years. So, thanks. So my dad fought in World War II. He was shot down over Italy, survived. But that meant he never wanted his sons to have to go to war. So I drew a fairly low number in the draft in 1967. 137, in fact, was the number, emblazoned in my memory. And it came down to the last few days because they got to number 136 at the local draft. And I took the physical, and I was kind of prepared to go. But if they didn't draw 137 by New Year's Day, you were out of the luck. And I got through it. But what I learned later was that my parents had made arrangements for me to go to Canada, to go to school at McGill University in Montreal. I'm sure that would have turned out just fine, but the support and the love of parents unconditionally for their children is really incredible, and I had that. Even as a young gay man coming out to my mother when I was 18, and my father that night later when he came to talk to me, saying, "You haven't done anything I haven't tried, so don't worry about it." And from then on, it was not really talked about so much. They met all my friends. My two other brothers, great guys, were running wild. They got it together eventually. But I was practicing and playing in the orchestra in St. Louis and then other places. But I guess what I'm aiming at is this next piece called A Maze Full of Grace, based on Amazing Grace. Now, I grew up in a Southern family, small town in Missouri. My grandmother was a church pianist and a voice teacher in St. Louis. But she and my grandfather moved to a property in southern Missouri that became a state park eventually. But a buddy of theirs at St. Louis University had this property, said, "Go take care of it and take your family down." So 12 kids later, and a beautiful place that is now a state park, they moved to the country. And my grandmother was the church pianist and vocal teacher for all the farm kids all around. And no one lived close by. But there was a piano in her house, and she taught piano. And I would go bang on the piano, and she would come over and come down, do this. And little by little, I took to it. So I started piano lessons. And when the family would get together, there were a big family, over 10. They were evenly divided amongst soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And the brothers and sisters would all sing. And my grandmother was at the piano. And she was going blind, she had diabetes. In those days it was not treated the way it is today, if I had to do it. And so I was around spirituals. And not only that, but these aunts and uncles got along incredibly beautifully. They loved music, and they had that in common. And they sang from memory everything. And as a little boy, I started singing with them. My dad was singing, he would hold me here and sing right in my face, and I would join in. So I call this piece A Maze Full of Grace because of the various twists and turns that happened there, true for all of us really. Probably one of the big ones was the AIDS crisis. And when I came to New York, it had just started to be a thing in both Miami and San Francisco where I lived. So I came here and played a concert with, I had helped form a group called Positive Music. And the Positive Music was supporting composers who were going to die. There was no cure. If you got it, that was it. And we all thought we were going to go. So Positive Music said that as its mission, and it's a beautiful mission. The director, who was HIV positive, is still alive. So thanks to medicine research, we're okay. But anyway, that was probably the most profound musical experience in those days. There were others, and I'll talk about them, but this is based on that, with a hat off to pulling all the arrows. Yes?
Sorry, just
Okay. Right outside. This is land. very much. I was trying to nail you to the wall, so that went a little too well. Nails are not always good. So, you're doing great. came to New York, I joined the Quintet Americas, which is I'm still in after 46 years, and a group called First Avenue, which is an electroacoustic improvising trio of keyboards, regular keyboards, and then electronic ones, and bass guitar, but also upright bass. And we were playing together for about 23 years. So much of my experience with improvising has come from that experience. And one of the pieces that I put together then, one of the first ones, was a piece called Oh Boy, play on words intended, O-H-B-O-Y, exclamation point. And it's all acoustic, so I'm going to not be using any of this gizmo. But you're going to hear patterns from my hands that create the cycle of overtones from the overtone series. So you're going to hear things spinning up very high while the other things come out low. And also I'm going to be playing some multiphonics. They're unique, they're kind of like double stops would be on the violin, except they're more notes. And they're a real revelation of the instrument itself. So I'm going to play one yet because it might be a bit of a surprise. But as I explore these multiphonics, you'll hear within the oboe this other kind of resonance, this other kind of potential for creating harmony within its own world. And I may sit on a different chair. I think I just need to make sure don't fall off that bench while I go around this thing. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just sit right here. You need to be right at the edge of it there. So, when the pandemic hit and Ken had died, I was assaulted on the street right before he passed, and I broke my shoulder. And I've been in the healing process in many ways, both physically and otherwise, since then. But and then I got hit by a motorized bicycle and broke my pinky, which comes in very handy for certain notes. So I'm not always sure if they're going to strike right, but in the pieces that I play, very often the accidents are the beauty of the piece. So here goes. This is Oh Boy. injuries meant that the piece changed. And I tried to embrace the changes, literally, that a broken shoulder and a broken hand meant to a piece that was quite physical. So now, for myself, I hear the resonance of this other side of me that doesn't cooperate the way I'm used to. And yet, it is me now. So I think that it's important for me to connect with the fact that for me, there are no accidents. Everything that happens has meaning, and we're supposed to learn from it. And what that helped me do was move on from grief, frankly, and injury, because before Ken passed, well, it goes back a little ways. I played native flute in a national monument a long time ago, Native American piece. And while I was playing it for an audience of Native American people in this town called Coolidge, I saw a spirit shimmering light. So I told my quintet, but I wasn't going to tell anybody else. The next morning I met the presenter of the concerts in the lobby, and she said, "How was the concert?" I said, "It was just fine." She said, "Oh good, everybody down there sees spirits." So, oh, okay, so I did too. And that was after having played that same piece at the Reading of the Names at Ground Zero, where the quintet got invited in 2003 to play at this incredible, immensely sad, horrific setting. And they asked musicians to play while they were reading the names of the people who had passed. We were the grandmothers and grandparents reading the names of their children. Then I saw the spirit right after that in Arizona. And then about 3 months before Ken passed, COVID had just hit. And I was going to go out shopping for us. And Ken said, "I need a bathtub chair." He couldn't stand in the bathtub anymore. He died of chronic lymphatic leukemia. And a friend who was helping us said, we need a cat scratch post. So I went out to the grocery store, and sitting in front of the grocery store was a bathtub chair with a cat scratch post sitting there. And I walked home knowing, they're looking out for us. And they are. So when we were in hospice, Ken had turned to me and said, he hadn't spoken for an hour, and I was holding his hand. And he said, "What's going on with Sonny?" And what he didn't know was my father's name is Sonny, his nickname. He was Matthew also, as in mine. And I said, "Ken, that's my dad." My brother died the same day, about 2 hours after Ken died. So I met with a medium with her. And Ken and my brother were best buddies. My grandmothers were there, my father and mother, and Ken's grandmother. She gave us lots of furniture and antiques, and he always talked about her. So my experience is that we go on. Nothing can stop us. We're there. What it's about so much, I don't know, but they're themselves, because my brother said something about, fuck him, about someone else we knew. And the medium said, "Well, your brother says fuck him," and then he said, "And your mother's waving her finger at me," and that would have happened. So they were very much themselves, and I'm so grateful. So that's the power that this difficult time has been for me, is sort of to relate it to other people and say it matters what we do, and it matters how we treat people. I'm going to close with a free improv. Pretty much set pieces before me. Now we're going to explore a little bit. Is it too loud? Okay. Thanks for being here.